You mentioned the first performance going well and not
Yeah.
working out. Was that a setback?
No, it wasn't a setback. The performance was going well. What didn't work out was it was a scam. So lost 3 grand just rolling the dice in this business, paying for representation that end up being like kind of a hustle out here. It's a common hustle. You know, you get like the new actors in, sign them up for all these workshops, get them these headshots, promise them blah 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 X Y and Z job, and then the job never really unfolds. So that's kind of a hustle that some of these management companies out here do, which you should never pay for representation. The setback. Okay, so within the book The Alchemist, which I recently read and love it, it talks about beginner's luck. My beginner's luck was getting that phone call, uh, going through the workshops. But then also my first role right out the gate was training day, which was a background role, but then got flipped to a principal role because Denzel Washington holds a gun towards me, asked me some questions. I didn't really know what I was supposed to do, so I just held my hands up and I openly just started talking back. Next thing you know, the producers call my mom and they're like, well, yeah, he kind of said something, so now we need to kind of like bump his role up, which wasn't supposed to happen. Thank God I said something, you know what I mean? But that was my beginner's luck. And then after that, I spent a 2-year stint of just doing background work, kind of frustrated and not really understanding the process and learning the process, going to acting classes, getting rejection after rejection with auditions. Maybe give or take like 3-4 years until I actually got my next big job. So that was my beginner's luck. You know what I mean? It was like being shown the land of milk and honey, being shown that it's possible, but now you got to work for it.
What kept you inspired? What kept you motivated through that time?
I was young. My imagination kept me inspired. I'm thankful to jump into it at such a young age, um, because I have like friends now who are just trying to like upstart an acting career. And I look at that shit and that's like a hustle right now. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you're in your mid 20s, like going into your 30s, and it's like, yo, you're just trying to start acting now. I'm not saying it's not possible, but like when I was a kid, I had less things to worry about. Like my parents provided a lot for me. Like I'd be lying if I sat here and said that I didn't have a privileged background. I used to worry about like what was going to be my story. Now I think I'm starting to experience what my actual story is because there's still hurdles, roadblocks, obstacles within life that are trying to set me back. But back then when I was a kid, it was like, you know, as long as I got good grades, as long as I kept my head on straight, as long as I didn't let this business overtake me and start like doing some dumb shit or getting into trouble, my parents were like, we're going to make this happen for you. If you want this, do you want to go do sports? Do you want to go to like mathletes or whatever? Whatever you want to do you want this? Um, I'm just thankful for that, man. That's what kept me going is because when I was young, my imagination, that was it. That's all I had to go off of. As long as I could be creative, that was all that I needed. Nowadays, shit, you go into an audition and it's like you battle your ego nowadays because you think, oh, this isn't just me auditioning anymore. This is me providing. This is me fighting for my life. This is me showcasing myself. This is me, paying off all of my debts or whatever that you may acquire. All of this extra shit that starts battling in your life. The core concept of my company, Blackmouth, is immortality through imagination. Because if you could just live with the imagination, all that other shit is going to come.
So things start to work out.
Yeah.
You start getting involved in big films. What have you been involved in?
What have I been involved in? So, I would say notably one of my biggest starts in television was being on the show All That. I used to dream about being on Nickelodeon, and then by the grace of God and speaking into existence, I achieved that. I was a series regular on All That. Came in, and then all of a sudden, like, that was on its way out. So what's the next hustle? You know, you do a couple guest spots here and there on television, and then I got my next big break. Thank you to Denzel Washington and Great Debaters. And that was, again, like another experience that put my foot in the door for film. That was a big, big blessing in so many ways because, like, you know, Denzel is the one who really, like, motivated me to start pursuing behind the camera, becoming a director. You know, he seen something within me that I didn't even see within myself. He just seen a genuine curiosity and took that curiosity and kept feeding me knowledge and inspiring me at a time where, like, everything was still very much malleable, where I was so young and everything was so new. So Great Debaters. Then after that, I went to do a Bad Lieutenant. I went to do Warriors, Abduction, and then, you know, kind of had some things here or there, some television roles, and then, you know, Black Panther recently, which that's another big blessing, another huge, huge layup from God, if you want to call it that, you know?
And you see, I think people tend to acknowledge when things start to work. There's also a whole nother level of distraction. I mean, we're in Hollywood, we're in LA. You know, there's parties, there's different crowds, there's ego. How have you maintained not only sanity but maintained hunger and drive in the mix of this trajectory as things have?
That's twofold, man. You know why I say, like, I want to take it back to then answer your question. So, you know how I said I used to wonder what my come up story was? I remember when we were doing the press tour for Great Debaters, and I had sat on that couch with Oprah. By the way, I don't remember shit, but sitting on that couch, I was so nervous, like, hands were sweaty, just like jitters, everything. But I remember sitting on that couch, and recently, either before or after that, shortly after, Tom Cruise was on that couch. And I think Tyler Perry was on that couch. And, you know, I just had a conversation with my mom, and I remember asking her, like, Mom, what is my story? Like, all of these guys, like, go through different obstacles and hurdles in their life. What is going to be my story? Again, I'm not going to hide it, you know. Thankfully, I've been blessed with some opportunities. And when I was young, I did really good for myself as a child actor. And you want to know what my story then started becoming? How do you transition from a child to an adult? And that's where what I now know, the ego crept in. And not in the ego of, like, well, I guess you could say I thought it was hot shit, but even being arrogant, like, I was unaware. I didn't know how to control these things. I didn't know what I was supposed to do coming out of Great Debaters and coming out of these movies, how to flip that. I didn't know how to manage my business. My parents weren't in the industry to tell me those things because they had never been in it. And the older I get now, I understand, like, why my dad was so hard on me, or the lessons that he taught me, is because, like, just because this is the acting business and his was the air conditioning, like, HVAC business, it's still a business. And I wasn't learning how to run a business. I was still being creative. So as I got in, like, my early 20s, it was a learning experience for me because I had all these, like, huge dreams and aspirations, but I didn't know how to achieve them. And I dropped out of school because I had some, like, directors who gave me great advice. They were like, do by doing. One of, like, my second short film, but what I would say, like, my biggest short film still to date, Criminal, was such a learning experience. It was my film school where I kept throwing money at the problem instead of figuring out how to actually solve the problem. And then after that, you know, I spent my early 20s basically, like, kind of college for myself, but I wasn't in an institution. I was just learning on my own. So I was going to those parties. I was hanging out. My parents were strict on me, man. They didn't let me out of the house. And, like, I was always traveling while I was young. I worked so damn much. So I was like, you know, let me go have some fun. And I spent my time hanging with people who wanted everything from me but gave me nothing. And I gave my heart to a lot of people because that's the type of like, again, my blessing of having a heart, I'm thankful for it, but my heart has also failed me in business because I'm so giving. So how do you keep yourself away from all the madness, man? Like, I enjoyed it. I'm such like a lonely dude, man. Like, I'm cool with just being at home, reading, playing video games or whatnot. But it's about keeping the hustle. I wasted time, what I say was my college years, just kind of being like, oh, fuck, I'm free, I'm an adult. But what does that fucking mean? You know what I mean? Now it's about creating a legacy. How do I keep my sanity now? Still, again, my parents keep me grounded. I'm on a path of spirituality right now. Every day is like something new. Aligning myself with God, just staying away from all the bullshit, man. Like, look, I enjoy going out, having a party. I enjoy like finding myself in the comfort of some sexy little thing, you know what I mean? But like, still, at the end of the day, she don't pay my bills. The people that I hang out with don't pay my bills. Those may be interactions, but now I gotta provide for myself. I think the biggest and the scariest investment I ever made was buying my house, because it put a battery in my back and it's like, nigga, survive. You know what I mean? So those were all wake-up lessons for me, to finally start tapping into my truths and stop feeling sorry for myself, and to not walk around so arrogantly too. Yes, I walked around arrogantly, unbeknownst. I wasn't even aware of it, but I was just doing shit that was self-destructive to myself because I thought, oh, it would be good. Now when I wake up, I gotta make stuff happen. I dream. I create, I love, and sadly I fear.